that is going to record it nicely on this computer. So let me get back into shot so you can see my feet, all good. And, oh, there we are, ready to go. So pop that down there for a second. Now, first thing then that we're going to do in this session, I should look very polite standing like this. First thing that we're going to do is set up our standing posture. So bring your feet together, turn your toes to 45 degrees, and then follow with your heels. And just check that your feet are parallel and that they're roughly 2 fist distance apart. And then the next stage is to see where we're carrying our weight. So we're just going to gently sway forward and back. See how that feels. And then eventually we want to stand still with equal weight in our toes and our heels. And when we've done that, just gently tense your thighs and bring yourself up towards the pelvis. And just do exactly the same thing. Just try out almost a couple of different positions with the pelvis. So we just tuck it under, push it back, tuck it under, push it back. And next time when it's tucked under, just keep it tucked under, feel the tummy tighten, and then straight away we want to switch on that pelvic floor. So you imagine that you're standing in you're stopping yourself peeing rather. You don't want to stand and pee, not if you're a female anyway. And then, or you are lying in a nice big full bath of water. You draw the water up inside you, and that tension that you can feel now, that is you feeling centered. Draw the waist in at the sides, front and back, and then roll the shoulders round, back and down. And just gently draw the chin back. So once again, we want to sit the ear over the shoulder, over the hip, and over the ankle. And in that position, that should be our best postural stance. Now, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you next go to breathe in, bring one arm forward and up. Breathe out and let it drop, and do the same for the other side. And as the arm rises up and drops down, see how high you can take the arm before the ribs start to move. And again, if this pulls on a scar or aggravates an injury, then remember, just go as far as is comfortable for you. You don't need to go much higher. But if you can, then go there. Right? Just listen to what works best for you. But the next time when your arm lands and you've done an equal number on each side, then hold the arms down and gently bend from one side to the other. And the big trick here really is to remember to almost lift your ribs in the middle before you bend to the side. So there's an up before you drop. And when you drop, you're pushing the rib towards the hip bone. Now, if that feels okay and you'd like to make it a little bigger, then of course you can bring the arm right up and over the head and do the same to the other side. But if that's too much, or again you feel that scar, you feel the injury, then don't do it. But always just give yourself a little test just to see if you can do a little more than perhaps you could last time. So we do an equal number on each side and then reset in the center. Breathe in and bring both arms up and out to the side. Then fold your arms. As you breathe in, pull back with the elbows. Fold the arms again, and each time you bring the arms across the front, see if you can change the top arm. And I'm trying to get the shoulder blades to gently squeeze together every time. Great. Now on the next time that you fold the arms, and we're going for roughly 8 repetitions, then keep the arms folded, breathe in, again you lift the ribs, and then as you breathe out, you Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, rotate. So you're trying to almost rise up to give yourself space so that as you rotate, you can feel the hip staying still and you can feel the oblique muscles starting to work. Again, roughly 8 repetitions. We'll finish in the center. And this time, when you breathe in, spread the elbows out and gently lean back. Then as you breathe out, bring the arms forward and hinge forward. Now, as long as you haven't got anything going on with the spine, this should be fine. But if you've got a little bit of an issue with the spine or the bones, then you know not to go very far with this. It's up to you. Listen to what feels right to you, and if it feels great, then really exaggerate that movement, making it as big as you can. Let's do a couple more. Breathe out, breathe in. And then as you reach your last repetition, circle the arms out and down and roll the shoulders. Recenter before we move to the lower body. Just going to bend first one knee and then the other. So we're gently warming up through the ankle, but staying stable in the hip. Making sure there's no kicking out as we lift the heel and no transference of weight from one foot to the other. And next time, as you settle the feet, just stay down. And all I want you to do is keep your heels on the ground. Breathe in as you bend both knees. Breathe out and rise. And in some ways that's easier because you've got better balance and you can keep your weight equal in the toes and heels. But in other ways, it's a little more difficult for the calf and for the ankle. So as you bend your knees, you may well feel something going on down the front of your shin. That's down to your ankle flexibility. Meanwhile, at the back, you start to feel a stretch through the calf. Now, let's just add this onto our little arm circle. So what I'm going to get you to do is breathe in and bring both arms forward. Eventually, you'll reach a point where your ribs start to lift. At that point, spread the arms out wide, and as you circle the arms into your legs, bend your knees. So breathe in and breathe out. Now, if it becomes too much, then don't go as far, but if you think you can, then extend your range. We just take the arms a little higher and a little wider. We start to feel the shoulder blades moving. We begin to feel the hips, the knees, the ankles all loosening off nicely. And then on the last repetition, just finish in a standing position. And we're going to focus in on the ankle and the ankle mobility. If you need to hold on, then hold on. And see if you can bring one foot up and off the mat. And then all I want you to do is draw a circle with your foot. Nice big circle, maybe 3 or 4 in each direction to release that ankle. And then do exactly the same thing on the other side. Now, if you can do this without holding on, then aim to do so, because that way you know that your balance is improving. And one of the things that we need for longevity is good balance, right? So now a couple of circles in each direction, reset the foot, heel down, there we go, and we are all set, ready to do a little single leg work. Again, hold on if you need to, pick up one foot, breathe in and bend the supporting leg. Breathe out and straighten. If you'd like a bigger range, then do go and hold on because you'll be able to go deeper. But if you want to really focus on the core and stability, then try not to hold on if you can And as you push up, think of your foot as a triangle. Big toe, little toe and heel. And you want to push through, she said, demonstrating ably, all three corners of that triangle. And when you've done roughly 5 to 8 repetitions, switch the legs over and do the same on the other side. So we're looking again for that foot triangle, big toe, little toe and heel. And equal weight going through all three corners. And if you can, tightening that pelvic floor, pulling the belly button towards the spine, but not forgetting the bum. The more you squeeze your bum on the leg that's bending, the better it's going to be for balance. And when we've done around 8 repetitions, 5 to 8 on that side, then we can reset the feet and we have a little bit more work to do on our balance, right? So first thing I want you to do is, as long as it feels okay, and again, hold on if you need to, pick up one leg and from this position, see if you can kick the leg out and bend. Now what that does is it really strengthens the muscle along the thigh. Breathe out and in. Breathe out and in. Anywhere from 5 to 8 repetitions is great. And then put that foot down and do exactly the same thing the other side. But if it's too much, just tap forward and back. So I could just tap the floor. I still get some work out of that quad when I tap forward and back. Okay, it's obviously a lot easier, but it will still work through some of the same muscles. When you've done your repetitions, we're going to work a little bit on trying to release through the hips. And we'll do a bit more of this when we're lying down. But for now, balance once again on one leg. But this time, push that knee out to the side. Okay? Back into the center and down. Then change legs. So the knee comes up, rotates out, center and down. Now, one of the things that I notice here is that my opposite hip wants to come with me. So when I lift this leg, it's like my whole body wants to turn towards the windowsill. So what I need to do is make sure this hip stays still while I open that leg out. And obviously exactly the same thing when I change sides. This hip needs to stay still. She said, can't balance now. While that leg goes out and back in. Right. So anywhere to 3 or 4 on each side, whatever works for you, and use your hands if you need to check what's happening with that other hip as you open and close the leg. Great stuff. Right. So from there, that is going to be our standing work. So now we're going to come down onto the mat, onto our backs, and again it's up to you, just get yourself there however you can. All right, we're going to start actually lying down. So when you're ready, lower yourself backwards onto your mat, drop yourself down onto the ground, and then extend the legs, or if you prefer, keep the legs bent. It really doesn't matter just now. The most important thing here is that we establish our neutral back. So the legs are nice and long or bent. If the legs are long, you feel your heels on the ground and the calves in the ground. If your knees are bent, then your feet are pressing firmly into the mat, hip distance apart. Tailbone presses into the ground, but have a little check on that pelvis, because even though your tailbone is on the ground, you could still be slightly squiffy through the pelvis. So try to make sure that the hip bones are both facing the ceiling. Then there's a gap underneath your lower back. Your ribs press gently into the mat. Open up your collarbone and extend the arms either side of the legs. As you breathe in, bring both arms up and over the shoulders, then out wide to the side, before circling back in towards the legs. So, again, the same principle as when we were standing. You don't want to go so far that your rib cage leaves the ground, but instead you want to be sure that your ribs remain connected to the mat. So even though you may have increased the range, you're able to maintain contact in the upper back. And next time, when the arms come out to the side, let them fall out and keep them there for now. I'd like you to bend the right knee and straighten the left leg. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, swap the legs over, running the feet along the mat. As you go from one to the other, only move when you breathe out. And check for me, what happens to your back? So as soon as I go to slide my heels, I can feel that my back wants to arch. My ribs want to flare up. And the gap between me and the floor wants to increase. So I now need to really concentrate on maintaining that neutral. And that comes from switching on the pelvic floor, pulling the belly button down to the spine, shrinking the waist, and control. There we go. Now I'm going to bend both knees at that point. Feet flat on the floor, knees hip distance apart, and we just gently sweep from one side to the other, just to release the back a little and make it a little easier on ourselves. All right, one side to the other. Now, things like the pelvic floor activation and really switching that on, those become really important, particularly if you're taking any kind of hormone replacement, so any letrozole, tamoxifen, anything like that, they can all really affect your pelvic floor, strength and ability, so the tighter you can make it, the better. Now come back into the center, the knees are pointing to the ceiling, feet are flat on the floor. And I'm going to bring my arms all the way towards my head. At that point, my ribs have lifted slightly. If that's too much for you, then fold your arms over your chest. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, peel your head and shoulders off the ground, round the back, and reach towards your legs. Breathe in and lower yourself slowly back down. Now, like I say, you could do this with your arms folded. Unfold to reach, refold, as you drop back down onto the mat. Breathe out, tuck the chin in, reach towards the legs. Breathe in as you drop back down. Anywhere between 5 and 8 repetitions. Now, if you feel you're not getting very far, then pull yourself up a little higher using the back of the legs. So we can use the legs to assist us in getting a nice big curve through the spine. But of course, listen to what feels right. And if all you want to do is just tuck your chin in, pull your belly button right down, and that's sufficient, then that's okay too. Just really important we listen to what works for us and what doesn't. Now next time when you come up, I'm going to take one hand and support my head, so there's no pressure through the neck. The other arm is going to reach round the side of my legs towards my ankle, towards my shin. But my actual focus is on keeping my hips still and trying to get my ribs towards my hips. Again, maybe 4 or 5 on each side before swapping over and doing the same thing on the other side. A little look at your knees. If your knees are moving, that implies that your hips are moving. So pull that belly button down, tighten the pelvic floor, keep those hips still, then recenter, arms away, and lower slowly back down. Now, little by little, we're going to bridge up. And we're going to do 4 bridges to get to the top. First things first, though, set up your neutral back. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, just tilt the pelvis. Flatten the back, then reset neutral with the gap. So that is how you initiate your bridge. We're going to take it one stage further. So tilt the pelvis, squeeze your bum cheeks together like you're going to pick up 50 pence from the floor, and then just peel your tailbone off the ground. That is all. Lower your tailbone, relax the bum cheeks, return to neutral. Let's do it again. This time, tilt the pelvis, squeeze the bum, tight through the tummy, and see if you can peel a little bit more of your back off the ground, maybe as high as your bottom rib. Then lower the back, but be conscious of dropping through the belly button before the tailbone, before you relax and return to neutral. Now we're going to go higher again. This time we're going to go as high as the bra strap. So squeeze the bum. There's the tailbone. I'm pushing my knees away until eventually my bra strap is just on the ground. Keeping your knees over your toes. As you breathe out, try to lower your bra strap, lower your ribs, lower your belly button, tailbone, bum, pelvis. And then this bridge will take us all the way up. So tilt, squeeze, push through the floor, squeeze the bum, and drive the knees over the toes until eventually we reach the very highest bridge we can do. Make sure you're squeezing your bum cheeks together. You're pushing your knees over your toes, tight through the center. And on the way down, think shoulder blades, bra strap, ribs, belly button, tailbone, relax the bum, neutral. Good, now when you get down to the bottom, just going to get you to float one knee up and over the hip. I want you to think about this a little bit today. So think of your thigh bone. And as the knee comes over your hip, think about the movement of your thigh bone, because that's what's moving. And you know that in Pilates, it's as much about what's not moving as it is about what is moving. And what's not moving is your knee joint. There's no change in the angle through your knee. What's moving is your whole thigh bone, which is coming towards you and then away from you, like a long stick coming towards you and away. The next time when the knee comes up, keep it up and bring the other knee up alongside it. Do you feel how your back flattens gently into the mat now? Breathe in, and as you breathe out, lower the thigh bone away. Breathe in to bring it up. Breathe out. And this time it's a little bit harder to maintain that contact with the mat. So thinking about pressing the back gently into the ground. from the base of your neck through all your ribs down towards your tailbone with no gap. Equal number on each side, and then finish with both knees over the hips. In theory, we're looking for 90 degrees in the knees. Bring up both arms. Now as I lower the right thigh away, I'm dropping the left arm towards my ear. And then I come back center and change sides. Now how far you go with your arm is entirely up to you. So if you want to go all the way back to the mat, that's okay. Now you can stick with this and just keep this going. In fact, you could make it easier by starting on the floor and bringing your leg up. Or you could do the heel slide that we did when we first lay down. Or if you'd like to make it harder, then instead of dropping the knee and keeping the knee bent, you drop the knee and let it lengthen away so that you increase the length of the lever and therefore increase the work being done by the tummy. Now we're going to do 4 more in whichever way works best for you. Right? 3 more, so 4 is on each side, 1 more on each side, so 2 more in total. Last time. And then we're all going to just bend one knee, straighten the other, lower the straight leg and hug the bent knee in towards us. Now if that's uncomfortable on your hip for any reason, then remember you could always hook your hands around the back of your thigh instead of on your shin. Okay, so that's entirely up to you. If you can hold your shin, then do so because you'll get a bigger stretch. Little ankle rotation there. And then when you're ready, just swap the legs over and stop while we rotate the ankle here. Now, if you can, go into swapping those legs from one side to the other. Now you can again stay here with your head and shoulders resting on the ground. Or if you'd like to make it harder, and we're going to do 8 more repetitions, we're going to bring the head and shoulders off the ground and we'll do 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the head and shoulders to the ground. And the leg that's in nearest you, straighten it up towards the ceiling. Spread the arms out wide. Now, if you can, again, draw a large circle 4 times clockwise and 4 times anti-clockwise with that straight leg. However, again, if that puts too much pressure into your hip, then what to do is just reduce the range of motion. And worst case, you could always just support that leg and just draw circles with your foot. When you've done that with that leg, keep the leg up straight in the air and slowly climb your thigh until you can bring your hands further up your leg. Now I've brought my head and shoulders off the ground and the weight of my leg helps me keep my head and shoulders up. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, swap the legs over. First on one side and then on the other. Bringing the leg as close as you can to your face. As you reach your last rep, hold the straight leg up, lower the other leg down. So this now is my other leg. I'm going to lower my head and shoulders, spread out the arms for support, and then circle the other leg. I'm going again for 4 repetitions in one direction and 4 in the other. But our aim, as ever, is control. And your diameter of your circle should only be as large as you can control. Now finish with that leg up in the air and bend the knee, pull the other knee in, and you have a choice. You can either again hug your shins, or you can always put your hands behind your thighs if you feel uncomfortable pulling on your shins. Breathe in and lengthen the legs, breathe out and pull the knees in. Breathe in and lengthen, breathe out and pull. Now if you feel good with that move and you want to bring the tummy in a little bit more, then bring the head and shoulders off the ground. We've got another 4 to do. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now I'm hugging my knees in and I'm going to lower my head and shoulders and just draw a few circles with both knees. Couple in one direction and then come back and draw them in the other. And you get that release in the back. It's almost like a little massage for the back as we draw those circles. Now from there you can do it any way you like, but I'm going to straighten one leg, keep the other knee bent, and I'm going to use that to rock myself right up to sitting. Once you're sitting, straighten the legs if you can, but if you need it, then grab yourself a little cushion. You can always pop that underneath your bum. Our aim now is to gently stretch the back, but again, if you've got issues with your spine, make the range of motion quite small. So we take a deep breath in, breathe out, reach forward towards our feet, tucking in our chin. Drop the arms to the mat and do it again. And the more you can lift your arms, the bigger your stretch will get. So you can bring the arms right up to the ears, forward and down. Or, if you need to, don't go as far. Take the arms to the side, let them come in. Drop the chin and round the back. So if you don't want to take this into the lower back, then don't go as far, nor do you absolutely need to bring the arms up to the head. Great. Now next time, when the arms come back, we're going to bring the arms behind us a little and bend both knees. And with both knees bent, we're just going to gently drop the knees from one side over and onto the other side. So that I'm getting again a little bit of work out of the oblique muscles. Just one side and then the other. Go for 4 times. I'm going to do once more to each side. That's our little stretch. I'm putting some weight into my hands as well. And then back into the center. I'm still sitting on the cushion if you want to be, but if you don't want to be, remember, that's only just an option. But I'm right up on my sitting bones, drawing the top of my crown of my head right up to the ceiling. From there, I'm going to straighten one leg and lengthen it away along the ground and pull the other knee in towards me. Breathe in, and as I breathe out, I'll swap those legs over. Now you can see straight away that I start to lean back. So let's see if I can do that a little more professionally. Pull myself up tall, slide and change. Slide and change. And I'm tightening my waist, trying to lift the ribs, lengthening first one leg and then the other. I'm going to hold that knee bent and use it to support me. Pull myself up even taller than before. You can see how well that's working out for me. or 5'2" of me. Now from there, that toe is going to kick the ceiling. And you and I both know that this is a challenge for the quads, but it's also a challenge for the core. The muscles of the core need to really tighten to keep yourself upright. I'm going for 10 little kicks. There it is, the last one, and now I'll swap over. Just take the other leg out, straighten it out, point the toes to the ceiling, pull myself up nice and tall, breathe out and lift, breathe in and lower. I'm pushing the heel away. Let's see if I can get a little bit more upright, shall we? And there's that leg, up and down, it's right along this thigh and into my hip flexor that I really feel the pull. Again, I'm going for roughly 10. I can feel that tension in the quad. And then bend both knees. Now the next stage here is to take a nice gentle stretch. So I'm going to link my hands round the back of the legs. Breathe out. And for the first time really today, get a gentle, passive stretch. I'm pulling the belly button away from my t-shirt. Dropping the chin onto the chest. I'm feeling a rounding in my back. Now this should be pretty safe for most people. Should be no reason that this isn't safe for you. Especially as your hands linked behind your legs are preventing you from going too far. If you want a bigger stretch, then you can release the grip slightly and pull the belly button even further down, getting even more rounding in the back. So when you've done that, bring yourself up nice and tall. And here are your options. We're going to do 8 repetitions. Option 1 is to keep hold hand in hand at the back of your leg and just go for a gentle stretch and then rise back up. I'm not going to show you that again because we've just done a little bit like that. Option 2 is to hook your fingers behind your thighs, round your back, and just keep going back until you feel like you're about to tip backwards. Make sure the knees are bent and you pull the belly button down to the spine. Then pull yourself back up and lengthen through the crown of your head. That's option 2. Option 3 is to do exactly the same thing but without your support of your hands. And then rise back up. Let's do that again. Round the back, tuck the tailbone under. Now you can feel how much harder the tummy has to work to stabilize. The next option is as we go back to pause and wait there, either just to stay static or to lift first one leg and then lift the other. Now if you're dealing with any scar tissue across the lower abdominals, then you know this is going to be pretty tough. So in which case you might want to continue to hold on. We drop back, lift one leg, lift the other. I've still got one more option for you, and this is the ultimate. Okay, this is the granddaddy of them all. You roll back, same thing, tailbone tucks under, pull the belly button down to the spine, lift the arm and the leg, opposite sides, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg, and then bring yourself back up to sitting. One more repetition. Do it whichever way you want to. Listening to your strengths, listening to your weaknesses, but also giving yourself a little challenge. And then coming all the way back up to sitting. Now, if you noticed your lower back hurt a little bit there, that just tells me that you're not quite tight enough through the tummy. So make sure that that belly button really tightens towards your spine. I'm going to move this cushion out of the way for me now. Pop it back on the chair. And from there, we're going to push back and straighten the legs. I'm still turning the toes out towards the ceiling, but I've widened the position for my feet. That makes me more stable. Draw yourself up really tall. Fold the arms in line with the chest. Breathe in and pull the elbows back. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Breathe out and bring the arms across. Breathe in and squeeze. Breathe out and cross. Let's do a few more like that. Now your target here is right between the shoulder blades. And we're trying to snag that muscle. Let's do another 4 if you can. And you're trying to keep the elbows just below the shoulders, but not much lower than that if you can help it. 2 more. Squeeze and release. And then this time when the arms come back in and they're folded, keep them there and twist your ribs to one side. Breathe in to the center, and as you breathe out, twist your ribs to the other side. Now, I don't know about you, but I can feel my legs want to move. So that implies that somewhere my hip is wanting to shift. So let's get right up on the sitting bone so that you cannot move your hips. The legs don't move, and we get all the work out of the waist and out of the spine. Equal number to each side, so we'll balance the sides. And then relax the arms down between the legs and just let yourself drop forward. Now, how far you go is dictated by any injuries you have, any injuries to the spine, but also by your flexibility. So what I want us to do is take a little moment where we just breathe. And with each out breath, try to encourage the top of our head to go forward and down between our feet. If you can reach your feet, then grabbing for the inside arch, relaxing the shoulders and easing your way forward is going to assist the stretch. Notice how when you breathe in, your tummy pushes onto your legs. So what I want you to do is when you breathe out, actively pull your tummy away and you'll find, look at that, how much more room you can get. Let's do that again. Breathe in, stick your tummy out. Now breathe out, pull your tummy away from your legs. Whoa, look how much more space there is. One more time, relaxing down. And then when you're there, just let your head drop. Let your shoulders drop and pause in the stretch. Very slowly release the feet and roll yourself carefully back up to sitting. Now from here we're going to bend both knees, and this time we're going to drop both knees towards the same side, and I'm going to turn to face you. We're going into the Little Mermaid, and this is where we really see some of the discrepancies. I've got my 2 knees separate, so I've got one on top, one underneath, but they're not on top of each other. There's a nice V between the 2 of them there. But what I'm going to do then is bring my hand from my ankle. Ideally it comes to my ear. I bend the supporting leg and go over the top. Reach to my ankle, push off the floor and come back the other way. Now that may well be too much for a number of reasons. One, it may be that you're too tight on this side to do. In which case, remember you could always keep your legs straight and go from one side to the other. It may be that bringing your arm all the way up to your ear is the issue, and in which case you don't really need to do that. You can just bring it around. Try and reach your ankle on the other side. And as we reach the last repetition, you should be able to find the one that works best for you. Now we're going to sweep the legs to the front and round to the other side. If you want to keep them forward, then keep them forward, but there's the V. One hand on my ankle, one hand on the floor, arm up if you can, lift and go over, grab the ankle, lift and go back. We just go from one side, over and again to the other, listening to any little discrepancies that aren't working for you. If it doesn't feel right, you know don't do it. If you're not feeling better for doing it, then it's probably not right. One more time. Over and back. Great. Now when I bring my hand back down to the floor, I'm going to bring myself up onto my knees. Now we're not going to be here for very long. Okay, so hands and knees first. Let's do a little cat to cow. And again, if you've got any issues with your spine or even with the sternum, anything that tugs or pulls awkwardly when you do this, then don't make it so big. Okay, the range of motion is dictated by you, so you can make it a small move. It's quite a nice way to try and keep the spine moving by being on your hands and knees. A little bit more supported than when we do roll downs, for example. Now next time you're there, you find a neutral back. Right? So that means you've still got the little dip, pulling the belly button up towards the spine, shrinking in at the waist, tight through the pelvic floor. And you're tightening all of that. At that point, I want you just to lengthen one leg away and lift that leg up and down. Just 5 times, up to 8 if you can, but 5 is sufficient. If it's too much for your wrists, then you could come down onto your elbows if you prefer. Our aim is to activate the glutes while stretching out the hip flexor. Let's just do one more. Now you've got a choice. You can rest in child's pose, so you could just put back to child's pose, or you could tuck your toe under, and either on your hands or your elbows, you can step back to plank. Then lower the other knee, make sure you square up the hips and reset neutral, and then lift and lower the other leg. Again, there's the option to be on your elbows, if you prefer. And we're trying to really make sure that we're not turning that leg out to the side. I'm going for 8 repetitions, but 5 is enough if you don't want to do the whole 8. And then again, you've got a choice. You can push back to child's pose, or you can tuck your toe under and slide back to plank, pushing your shoulders towards your fingers. Now, if you're in plank, then try driving up towards down dog. But again, if you've got issues with the spine, you don't probably want to push too far. If you're in child's pose, then you want to come off your knees, and you guys also want to bring your bum up into the air in that little down dog style position. Now from here, it's up to you whether you walk your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet, or whether you just decide this isn't for me and you just bring yourself to standing. If you've got no issues with your back or in terms of your spine and the spinal column, then you can stay down with me. Keep your chin tucked in and looking up at the top of your legs. Just relax and feel the stretch in the hamstrings. But if you're nursing issues with the back, then you may, in terms of the bone, then you may not want to do this. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, push the feet through the floor. Start to rebuild the back from the bottom up. Now take your time. Think of this as just giving you little minor corrections from the bottom all the way up, inch by inch, vertebra by vertebra, until eventually you lift through your neck and roll your shoulders back and down. Now let's just reset our posture to finish. So heels underneath the hips, weight equally distributed between the front and back of the foot, and the feet are parallel. Tailbone is tucked under, tummy is tight, pelvic floor is switched on, shoulders are round, back and down, and we gently pull the chin back so that the ear sits over the shoulder. This is the position that you need to be in between now and the next time we come together. All right, well done, guys. Thank you for joining me. Excellent. Let me stop that. There it is. There we go. Stop that light. And let me go from one thing to another.